Hi, and welcome to the Property Show. My name is Nancy. This is the show that is sure to give you an in-depth look into the property market, provide you with expert advice, trends, tips, and first-hand information on the hottest properties available. There is something for everyone. Paul and Carol have finally identified a property and are wondering whether the price is right. Our big question today is it important to do a valuation on your property?
I don't know, Paul, but I don't think we should pay all that money for a house that is in that condition.
But it's not that bad. Just a few cracks here and there.
A house that is supposedly 3 months old. I don't think it's worth what they're asking for.
Listen, that house is next to the highway. And the school is just a few meters from the house, which is great for the kids. That means you won't have to go looking for a school.
But seriously, 15 million.
The bank is going to sort us out. Come on, don't worry.
Paul, if you're going to put money into this, then we need to have value for our investment. Please, let's not rush in.
Okay, Carol. I hear you. What do we do?
The house has to be valued by a profession.
That will just increase our costs. We're trying to save some money here. Getting a professional valuer will just increase our expenses.
Paul, I'd rather use a little money for valuation rather than bucket loads of cash for a house that is falling apart.
Okay. If we are going to do this, we have to ensure that we get a registered professional on our side.
And I think they have an umbrella body and an association of sorts.
Okay. I'll look into it tomorrow when I get to work.
Okay. We should probably get the valuers to check the other properties as well.
Oh, yeah, I really never thought about that. Now, I wouldn't like to over-insure the house, especially if it looks like it's not structurally sound.
And in this economic environment, we need to save every penny.
Yeah. I think these sellers are just trying to bump up the price because of the prevailing economic conditions. But anyway, I'll go through some valuers tomorrow, then I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Is it important to do a valuation on your property? The dilemma that most of us face today is, do you know for sure the worth of your property? In studio with us today is Mr. Timothy Jehia, who is a land economist and a director at Crystal Valuers. Timothy today will help us demystify a few misconceptions that most of us have about property valuation. Welcome, Timothy, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Timothy, what is property valuation?
I would define a property valuation as the process by which you establish the worth or the value of a property. Strictly, you do not value a property. You actually value the interest in a property, either leasehold or freehold. But for our purposes, we can say it's the worth of the property.
What are the purposes of property valuation?
There are several purposes for which a valuation can be carried out. The most common is open market, by which you establish how much a property is worth if it were to be put up in the property market in an open market situation. There are others, for example, insurance. You are able to establish how much the property should be insured for, and that figure is supposed to be given to the insurance company for purposes of insuring. Thirdly, you also have valuation for mortgage purposes. Those are normally carried out by banks for purposes of lending, so that as they give you a loan, they know how much your property is worth. And at the same time, if, for example, you default in servicing your loan, they also are able to establish the minimum price at which that property should be auctioned. We also carry out valuations for taxation purposes. At the end of every year, one is supposed to make returns, taxation returns. So you need to carry out a valuation so that you indicate the actual value, the correct value of the property. And also additionally, for compulsory acquisition, when utility companies or the government is acquiring land for purposes of expanding a road, for example, you would need to carry out a valuation for compulsory acquisition so that you are compensated at the right value of the property.
Do they compensate you on that correct value, or they ask their government valuer who comes and gives another valuation?
Ideally, they can use either. the government valuation or from a private valuer.
Supposing there's a discrepancy, you're telling me my property is worth 5 million and the government valuer says 3 million. How do you match?
There is normally an inquiry conducted where the valuations are actually tabled, and the tribunal, there's a tribunal that sits down and is able to establish the worth of your property, the figure at which you should be compensated.
So that's the way I would redress in case I'm not happy with what the government is offering.
Yes, yes.
Who should I approach to obtain a valuation report?
You should approach a registered and licensed valuer. Every beginning of the year, the body that regulates valuers, it's called the Valuers Registration Board, issues a gazette notice that lists all the registered and licensed valuers in Kenya. And that list is also available from the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya. So those are the people you should approach for valuation purposes.
Where are their offices?
The Valuers Registration Board is domicile is based in the Lands Office at the house, where the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya is in Kenya Reinsurance Plaza, Nairobi.
And how much would it cost to carry out a property valuation?
The cost of valuation is determined by the value of the property. Generally, the first 2 million of the value costs 20,000 shillings, and the value over and above that is at 0.25%, such that the more the property is worth, the higher the valuation fees.
I want to take you back on mortgage. You said that when you're going to borrow money, the banks carry out a valuation for your land or for your property.
Yes.
And then if you default, they are able to sell it at a ceiling price. Tell us more about that.
Yes, this is what we call a forced sale value. The minimum price at which the bank should sell your property, that is a certain percentage of the open market. It's derived from the open market. And in Kenya, you are supposed to, before a bank sells your property, it must carry out a valuation. It's required to carry out a valuation so that they do not undersell your property, and that kind of opens the bank to litigation.
Tell us about insurance. Why is it necessary for me to value my property for insurance purposes?
Yes, so that in case your property gets destroyed, maybe in a fire or something like that, the insurance company that has insured the property is able to compensate you at the worth of that property, at the value of that property, as long as it will have been valued before before it is insured.
What should I expect from a valuation report?
Yes, a valuation report will contain quite a bit of information, part of which would be, for example, who is the owner of that property. You would have carried out a search, so it will show who the owner is. It will show what services are available in that area. It will show how big the land on which the property is. It will also show whether that property is on a road reserve. It will also show whether maybe it was illegally or irregularly acquired. All that information will be contained in the valuation report, and eventually you will have the value of that property, either the open market or for sale value, or whichever purpose you needed the valuation report for.
How often should I do a valuation?
Ideally, a valuation should be carried out at every 3 years, at most every 3 years, so that you're able to capture the dynamics of the property market within that period that would determine the value, the changes in the value.
I'll go back and ask, when I get a valuation report on a property, does the valuation report also include the defects of the property that we have valued?
Yes, it would, because we normally check the condition of the property, and we would advise you on how it is, and also give you, for example, the tenancies, who occupies the property at what rents. That information will be available in the valuation report.
What else should I look out for in a valuation report?
Yes, the valuation report would also give an overview of the area in which your property is, in terms of services in terms of the neighborhood, all the developments that have been carried out, so that if you intend to develop a property, then you have an idea of what, what is available in that area.
In a valuation report today, could you give me the price that I should foresee, like in 5 years to come?
Not really, because valuation is time specific. We carry out a valuation at a particular date. So we will not be able to forecast, we will not be able to speculate how much a property would be worth in 5 years' time. So we would only be able to give you the value of the property as at today's date.
What are the advantages of a property valuation?
Yes, when you carry out a valuation, you are equipped with the right information. Knowledge is power. So you avoid a situation, for example, where you underinsure a property, or you overbuy, pay more than is the value of the property, or undersell a property. So that once you have done the valuation, you have the right information to enable you make the right decision.
Thank you, Timothy, for that information and for your insight on valuation.
Welcome.
At the end of the show, I shall give you a recap of all we have learned on today's show, so don't miss out. Join me now as we visit our hot property of the week.